Just a reminder to please raise your hand, and we'll call on you and moderate that. Once the cameras are all rolling. Back there, everyone up here good? Good, Billy? Yep. Coach will start with an opening statement, and then we'll go to Teresa for the first question.
At first, I want to just send our very best to Bo Perbula. I mean, I hated seeing him injured. You know, he's a guy that's been such a playmaker for them, and you know, outside of defending him was so much fun to watch on film. And so we just hope for the best in prognosis and a speedy recovery, and hate to see him down. I thought Matt Zollers came in and did a great job in you know, stepping into a tough situation, and that's a credit to Eli. I mean, that's a really good Missouri team. You know, defensively they played very well, and they made it really challenging on us. And that was an ugly win, and yet it was a win, and we're not going to complain about that. We're going to celebrate it, because if you're going to be a great team, you gotta find ways to win games like that. You know, we lost time of possession. We were outgained. I think if you know, we actually had a higher yards per play average. So there's some numbers there that go in our favor, but I think the biggest deal was they were 1 for 3 in the red zone. And so this was a defense that in the second half stepped up when we needed to, battled every blade of grass, even there on the last drive where we downed the ball somehow, some way before the ball crossed the plane. And just a credit to our defensive guys, their staff, and the resilience there to find a way to stand tall and win a game. I think offensively, obviously, we struggled to find rhythm. We had the longest gain of the year, MK's run. You know, that was triggered by excellent blocking on the perimeter by our receivers. Both Tristan and Junior had big blocks there, and that's a huge moment. But obviously the play of the day was CJ's turnover. So you fight for every blade of grass. You force them into a fourth down stop, a field goal that hits the upright. Obviously they scored the touchdown on a fourth down conversion, which credit to them. But the numbers today go against us, except the scoreboard, and you got to look at the opportunistic turnover there, where we were able to score a touchdown to finish as an offense. So, really proud of our team, and I think again, to win a game like that against a really good opponent on a day that was really meaningful to us too. I mean, this was a cool day for Vanderbilt football, and you know, we've earned the right to celebrate it. Obviously, we'll turn the page and get folks on Texas tomorrow, but tonight we celebrate.
Teresa?
Clark, as you mentioned, it's an ugly game. This is the kind of game that too often in the past Vanderbilt would have found a way to lose. Is this a sign of how much maybe this program, this team, has grown, the toughness it's got to be able to pull out a win on a day like today?
I don't want to necessarily comment on the history or the mindset. That kind of stuff to me becomes a wash. I think what it says is this is a tough team that has the courage to be resilient and to step into the type of performance we need to win, whatever that performance looks like. And the mission is winning. And we talked about this in our meeting before we came over to the stadium today, that, you know, I think sometimes we get in these modes where, you know, I'm so proud of these guys, and I have such respect for them, and I'm so grateful, you know, to be their coach and to be with them on the journey. But, you know, I wasn't going to tell them that tonight didn't matter. You know, this was an important game for us, and we needed to understand that. And the reason we do what we do, the reason this is the 291st day that we have sacrificed and invested and cared for one another, is because we have big goals. And so this team found a way to win, and I think it's a great lesson to them that, you know, it can go our way for 4 quarters. It can go our way for 1 quarter at the end. And the point is, you step on the field with the attitude, the mindset, and you stay in the present, and good things happen.
Okay.
Clark, you kind of touched on this, but just the ability for your team to rise up to a big spotlight game like this and make the plays it had to make, fourth quarter, taking the ball away, getting in the end zone, that sort of thing? What does that kind of tell you?
Just that, I mean, this is, again, I think it reveals more than it tells. It reveals our character. It reveals our toughness. Reveals our commitment, and these are things that didn't show up today. I mean, these are things that have defined 291 days together, and I think we embraced the spotlight, we embraced the stage, and I say that because I felt like in our process in the week, these guys were impeccable. I mean, they maintained a focus. I thought they really were able to ignore the noise, and we handled business through the week. And when you do that, you get opportunities to win games on Saturday. So I'm proud of this group. I got a ton of respect for them, and again, there's a lot to clean up. I mean, that was very imperfect, but sometimes it has to be imperfect. I think we learned something about the character of this group.
Chris.
Kind of along those lines, Clark. You talked about winning an ugly game. Sometimes championship teams go through stuff like this. So, what type of beauty do you find in an ugly win?
A lot, and I agree. Obviously, this is one game, and one game won't define us. And I said that last week. And but especially in our league, I mean, Missouri came out of a similar game against Auburn last week. I mean, this is how it's going to be. And sometimes we're going to have to outscore the other team. I mean, it's going to be about being 1 point better where we're, the score's 40-39, whatever. I mean, today it was a tightly contested game against two teams that were physical and tough and two defenses that are stingy. And we made the play at the end to separate. But we're not getting where we want to go if we don't find ways to win games like this tonight. So, again, I thought a great moment for us to step up, and we did.
Gentry, then Arya.
Yeah, Clark, so much has been made this year about the offense and Diego, and was this kind of the defense's game with the way it played out? Did it make a statement, you think, on that side of the ball?
Well, it's a team game, and so, yes, I mean, we needed our defense to stand tall today. And I thought, in particular, those early drives in the second half. I mean, we were plagued by some 3-and-outs today. I thought field position-wise, too. I mean, I felt like they had us in the first half pinned. It was just both defenses were playing well, but we had our backs against the goal line a lot of times on our drives. So there just wasn't a lot of space on the field, and when we came out in the second half, I thought for sure it was going to be about a methodical drive to go score a touchdown. It wasn't. We throw an interception there on third down, and our defense needs to come out and make a stop. They did. Just, again, we a backed up punt where they get possession at midfield. Defense needs to step up. They did. And so I'm really proud of those guys. They work really hard. Coach Gregory and the defensive staff have done a great job. And I said this to the staff, because we always look at the play, the tactics, and say, that's a reflection of coaching. But the attitude is too. This is about a team that believes in one another and is really tough. And it's about a coaching staff that has built relationships with players that allow them to have impact in those moments. And so I don't think there was ever a second on that field where there was doubt or fear. This was a team that knew that they were going to find the way to win. They had to figure it out, and they did. But the defense was huge, and I really, really proud of those guys.
Arya.
Yeah, Missouri's the first team this season that's really been able to kind of contain Diego a little bit. What was it that they did that made it so difficult for you all offensively?
Well, this was first of all, it's a good defense, and we weren't able to get our run game going, and we got to look at that and just kind of say, hey, where was it play performance? Where was it the actual play call? What are the things we can do to help our offense get that run game going? I want to see Seti active. Obviously, MK with the big run, but we need to stay on schedule. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but too many 3-and-outs today. And look, at the end, I mean, they were contesting space. I thought really good throw to Trey on the explosive pass, but our performance on offense runs through Diego, but it starts with the offensive line. And if I were going to say, we have to play a cleaner game up front, and those guys have been so consistent in what they've done to this point. I thought we had some sloppy penalties, and we gave up the sack there early, and there just wasn't quite the space that we're used to having that's allowed Diego to kind of play at his highest level. So a lot there, but on the whole, it's going to happen. Good teams can complement. A different phase needs to step up, and it was the defense's night tonight, and they did.
We'll go to Pete and then Dylan.
So Clark, congrats on the win.
Thanks.
Hey, game day was here today. You guys have poured so much in the program. I know you and Candace have worked together a lot on that. You also had a lot of big time recruits here today, and I'm aware you can't talk about them, but to get to the point that you guys are at, where you get a sold out stadium, game day's here, and then when you walk out of there, you're probably gonna go talk to one of the top high school players in the country. What's that say about what you built, but also about where this whole thing is going?
There's limitless potential, and we've worked really hard to care about this a lot before anyone else has, but what we've built can be sustained, and obviously we have all the plans and designs to take it further, and it's important that on a day where our program was celebrated, that we recognize too that there are things we need to do to keep pushing this forward, and we will, but there are a lot of really good players that are paying attention to what we're doing. And what's always been true about Vanderbilt since I've been here is the energy within the program, and the people within this program have always made the right impression. And before we had anything else, we had a heartbeat here. And now we've got proof of concept. And so I want to compliment our fans. I want to compliment the students. Obviously, I was able to go over to the game day set, and what an incredible celebration of Vanderbilt University. I understand we made the field goal, that's awesome. I just felt like they brought it. It was a great crowd over there. So much fun to see this community rally around the football program. The Star Walk today was as good as I've ever been a part of. There was energy on that. It was amazing. The feeling of support. And then the crowd was great too. And that crowd made a difference in the game. So all good things, but certainly opportunities for us to continue to elevate with respect to how we recruit, how we retain, and to keep putting a competitive product on the field.
Yeah, Coach, it seems like, you touched on this a little, but the past few weeks specifically, your defense has really been good at either, forcing field goals, or maybe it would have been touchdowns, or really getting those stops in the red zone like you did today. What is it specifically about this defensive identity that allows them to perform that way with their backs against the wall there?
I think it is identity, it's DNA, it's, we talk about fighting for every blade of grass on the field, and that's something we train, that's something we preach, that's something our kids believe in. And it shows up in how they play. And, defensive football is about response. I mean, and especially when you talk about red zone performance, a lot of times you don't like the way the ball's gotten down there. But we've put a lot of effort into training the psychology and kind of flipping it in our minds to say, we're going to actually trap teams down there. And when the space eliminates for them, we're going to take it as our advantage. And so these guys are incredible with respect to their spirit, their belief, and their buy-in to this philosophy. Now, I'll tell you that we still haven't played a complete game as a defense. And so I loved the resilience. I loved the big play by CJ. I think that we could have had a cleaner finish to this game, but, we finished. And I think also there's a better performance for us out in front of us. So we have to keep looking for that. But really proud of the guys. And I think to your point, it reveals their character, it reveals their toughness. It's something we spend a lot of time on. But, they never let go of the rope.
We'll go third row in the back and then to Joey.
Ralph Russo from The Athletic. Good to see you, Clark.
Good.
You had a lot of guys play great games, so I don't want to give Diego too much credit. But in a game where the offense is struggling, and even he's not having his best game, what is the value? What value does he bring in helping you through those struggles?
Well, I actually said this to him in the locker room after we broke, because it's the same thing I told the coaching staff. You know, we want it to be clean and perfect, and we want it to be, we want it to look impeccable. As a coach, you're just looking for the perfect plays and the perfect calls and the perfect rhythm and all that, the perfect throws. And yet, when it's not perfect and you find a way to win, there's so much to be said about the character, culture, environment of our team, their belief and buy-in, and the relationships, right? It's a reflection of leadership. And so that's a credit to our position coaches. The same goes for Diego. He's one of the, leaders on our team as a captain, but obviously, he holds so much weight in that locker room and has such impact on our competitive mindset. And so I think our players have learned a lot from watching him. It's just that eternal belief. It's just every time the ball snap, it's our opportunity to change whatever momentum's out there. And even when he's not, at his best, he has impacted this program to the point where he's still impacting winning. And so I give him a ton of credit for that, because in a night like tonight, that is important.
Last question, Joey.
MK Young has said previously that during a lot of your biggest wins last year, he was cleaning toilets at his local church. Just how significant, as someone who's invested in him, is seeing him have a moment like he had tonight, and how much of an impact did that run have on the game as a whole?
Well, you do all the digging and get all the dirt. I'm so proud of him. And, shoot, we have a team that we talk all the time, and I think I've mentioned this, but we call ourselves misfits. I mean, all of us have scuff marks. There's not a one of us that, was wanted anywhere else. It's just who we are, man. And it's the chip on our shoulder. And I feel so lucky to be around a group that embraces that. And MK embraces that. MK's a guy that he's an emotional and spiritual leader on our team. He's got such a heart. And to see him have these moments, and to your point too, he had the year where he was out and he was having to do the dirty work to get himself back. What a great story. And it couldn't happen to a better person. So really, really grateful to have him here. He's an easy guy to believe in. And, shoot, I'll tell you, my C3, my 13-year-old, was playing 7th grade football this fall. And we're in training camp. And, shoot, I hope my son has more speed than I do. If he got his genes from his mom, he may. But he doesn't know yet that we're built like fullbacks, so he wants to be the tailback, and that's all good. And after a training camp practice, those are grinding days. I asked MK if he would mind taking him through some drills, because I want to be dad. I don't want to be coach to my kids. I think it's really important. But they look to these guys in the locker room like they're their heroes. They look up to them. And MK, I think he said, say less, or I forget how he phrased it, but he had such energy and sat out on that field and did drills with my son. And he didn't have to do that, but that's the kind of person he is. And so we're lucky to have a locker room full of those guys. And that's why I feel the gratitude of being in this moment and on this journey with this team. So thanks for that question and for pointing out. And thank you guys so much for the time. And thank you to Commodore Nation for showing up for us today. And here's to many more nights like tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.